Welcome to the University of Michigan International Center online course for optional practical training. This mandatory course is designed for international students on F1 visas who wish to obtain off-campus work authorization to gain experience within their field of study. Throughout this course, we will refer to optional practical training as OPT. You will learn the application process as well as the rules you must follow in order to maintain your F1 immigration status while on OPT. Please do not confuse this with CPT or curricular practical training, which is another type of work authorization for F1 students who acquire employment opportunities off campus for internships that are integral to their degree program before they graduate. Please refer to the International Center website for additional information on curricular practical training. This OPT online course will take you a minimum of 90 minutes to complete. Please make sure you have reserved at least 2 hours to view the video and answer the quiz questions at the end of each section. If you do not have enough time to complete the entire course at one time, you will be required to start over from the beginning the next time you log in. In this first section, you will learn exactly what OPT is and what is required to become eligible for authorization of OPT. First and foremost, this online course is required for all F1 students who wish to apply for optional practical training. This course has been divided into 6 sections. After each section, you will be required to answer several questions about what you are learning. Once you have answered these questions correctly, you will be able to move on to the next section. After you complete the final section, you will receive an OPT online course completion certificate. This certificate is required in order to request an OPT I-20 from the International Center. Once you complete this course and get your certificate, print that certificate, compile the required documentation, and bring that documentation to the International Center to request an OPT I-20. This I-20 is required for your application to apply for OPT. The application process for OPT will be discussed in Section 3. After completing this course and getting your certificate, if you want to review any of the information you've learned today, you can return to the review version of this course on the International Center website. This review version does not produce a certificate of completion. Therefore, it is very important that you remember you must do the certificate version in order to request your OPT I-20. First, we will discuss what OPT is. OPT is an optional benefit of your F1 status that allows you to gain training in a work environment in the United States that is not considered an on-campus student job. While on OPT, you are still a student for immigration purposes. Therefore, you maintain your F1 immigration status. This is because you are learning in a practice setting rather than a classroom setting. If you are approved for OPT after you complete your degree, you continue to maintain your F1 status. Therefore, you are still under an F1 visa classification. OPT is only a temporary work authorization, which is generally authorized for up to 12 months. Some extensions may exist, and we will discuss this later in the course. While on OPT, you can only accept employment that is in a position related to your field of study. By this, it is meant that the position you take, you must be using the skills that you learned during your degree program at the University of Michigan. It is your responsibility to obtain documentation and be able to make the argument, if asked, how this position is related to what you studied while at the University of Michigan. Your OPT authorization is not employer specific. This means that you can work for any employer as long as the position is related to your field of study. You can also work for multiple employers at the same time as long as you make sure that the cumulative hours that you work are a minimum of 20 hours a week. You can add these hours together between multiple employers, again, as long as all of these employment opportunities are related to your field of study and you are able to provide evidence of this if ever asked. The following slide lists the different types of employment you are allowed to obtain while on OPT. Please remember that while on full-time OPT, the minimum number of hours you can work is 20, and there is no maximum. This can be a combination of any of these types of employment. If you are approved for part-time OPT and still enrolled in full-time coursework, your maximum number of hours is 20 hours per week, and there is no minimum. Any form of paid employment is allowed while on OPT as long as the job is related to your field of study. And you can accept any level of payment because there is no maximum salary required under optional practical training. Students who are musicians and other performing artists may work for multiple short-term employers. If you choose this type of employment, you should maintain a list of all gigs, the dates and duration of these gigs. If requested by Department of Homeland Security, you must be prepared to provide evidence showing a list of all of these opportunities. Work for hire means that an individual performs a service based on a single contract for a specific job rather than an employment relationship. If requested by the Department of Homeland Security, you must be prepared to provide evidence showing the duration of this contract and the name and address of the contracting company. You may also start a business on your own and become self-employed. In this situation, you must work full-time. You must also be able to prove that you have the proper business licenses and are actively engaged in a business related to your degree program. If you choose to be employed through an agency, you must be able to provide evidence showing that you have worked an average of at least 20 hours per week while employed by this agency. Finally, you may also work as a volunteer or unpaid intern as long as this position does not violate any labor laws. Since you will not be getting any tax information for this position, it is strongly advised that you obtain a letter from this organization or company stating the number of hours that you worked, as well as the dates of employment. In order to be eligible for OPT, the following 4 items must be true. At the time of application, you must be in legal F1 immigration status. You must also have been enrolled full-time for at least 1 academic year. This means 2 consecutive semesters on the same SEVIS number. Third, you must have used less than 12 months of full-time CPT. Part-time CPT does not count towards this limitation. Finally, you cannot have been previously approved for 12 months of OPT at the same degree level. The maximum amount of time that you can request for full-time OPT is 12 months per degree level. This means that if you have already received a degree at the same level as your current degree, and you have already been approved for 12 months of OPT for that previous degree, you are no longer eligible for OPT. For example, if you have already completed a master's degree in the United States and have been approved for 12 months of OPT, completed that, and then returned to school to get another master's degree, and that is what you are finishing right now at the University of Michigan, you are not eligible for OPT. Another example where you would be eligible for another 12 months is if you completed a master's degree in the United States, had been approved for 12 months of OPT for that master's degree, and then returned to school, came to the University of Michigan for a PhD degree, and that is the degree you are completing now, you are eligible for another 12 months because you will be completing a degree at a higher level. Therefore, you are eligible for an additional 12 months of OPT. After you complete your initial 12 months of OPT, you may be eligible for an extension. These extensions include a 17-month STEM extension and a CAP-GAP extension. Both of these will be addressed later in this course in Section 5. Now that you know what OPT is, who is eligible to apply, how much OPT you can request, and what types of employment you can accept while on OPT, you are ready to move on to the next section of this course. There are 5 more sections to complete. The next section will give you important information about your initial 12 months of optional practical training. Following that, you will learn about the OPT application process. After that, you will learn the immigration laws you must follow in order to maintain your F1 status while on OPT. You will also receive important information on what you must carry with you when traveling outside of the United States. The next section after that will explain the CAP-GAP and STEM extensions and let you know who is eligible for those extensions. Finally, you will complete this course by printing your online OPT completion certificate. Please answer the following questions based on this first section of the OPT online course. Once you answer every question correctly, you will automatically be forwarded to the next section on your initial 12 months of OPT.